to another episode of GraysMatter podcast. I am Justin Grays, and my pronouns are Z-Them. And our co-hosts today are Nat.
Hello, nice to be here. My pronouns are they, them.
And Sarah.
Hello, hello. I'm Sarah, and my pronouns are she, her.
How are you two doing today?
Great.
I'm frustrated with this new grill because it seems to be missing a part. But, I can be outside in the sun assembling a new grill. So that's good.
True. It's supposed to be the mid-80s today here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, same down here in Chicago, except it's windy as heck, so it makes it a little slightly less pleasant.
I mean, it is the Windy City.
Oh, do you want me to tell you about how that is not in fact due to its climatic conditions at all?
Yes, please, tell us the legend.
It was coined by a newspaperman in the, I want to say the mid-19th century or late 19th century, and it was in reference to the windbag politicians of the city. Who are all blowing hot air all the time. Chicago is actually not any more windy or less windy than any other lakeside city. So there you go.
That makes sense. There was an episode of The Simpsons where Homer and I think her name is Mindy were representing the Springfield nuclear power plant at a convention, and they had to go to Capital City.
Yes.
And so Mindy said the Windy Apple, and that always makes me think of putting Chicago and Minneapolis together as one city.
It's supposed to be Chicago and New York, right? Because it's the Big Apple, and then the Windy City, Windy Apple.
Yeah, but Minneapolis is the mini apple, and it's closer. And it's cleaner. I don't know if it's actually cleaner. I've never been to New York.
It's filthy. Don't go.
Yeah, I don't want to go.
I actually really like New York. Like, everyone is the center of their own story, right? But if you need help, people are there to help. Neighborhoods are really a thing there.
Yeah, I've been seeing a meme go around saying East Coast is helpful but not nice. West Coast is nice but not helpful.
Kind but not nice, I think, is what I've seen.
Yeah, that's it.
Because the example that I saw was that if you get a flat in New Jersey, someone will stop and cuss you out the whole time while they're fixing it and then leave. And on the West Coast, people will drive by and wave at you very nicely.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Whereas here in the Midwest, people look kind and look helpful, but they're not unless you're friends with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Slicky as fuck up here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Although it's funny, when I first moved to Chicago, I was shocked by how mean everyone was relative to Minnesota. I was like, everyone's an asshole in Chicago. What the hell? And apparently it's rubbed off on me because I now shock my mother with my manners sometimes.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
But everyone will hold the door for you up here.
Yeah.
It's true.
Sometimes for too long. Maybe it has to do with how populous everywhere is, because Minneapolis only has 400,000 people, or if you want to go with the Twin Cities combined, it's about 1 million people. Chicago is, 2.7 million, so much bigger in less space. And then New York is 8.4 million. So just cramming them all in there.
Bound to make people grumpy.
Yeah. I personally am uncomfortable living in suburbia because everything is too far away. But on the other hand, I also need a little bit of space to, put my arms out without smacking anybody.
It seems like the right size of city, then.
What, Minneapolis? Yes. I do miss living in Minneapolis. Maybe one day, when the houses aren't $1 million and the apartments aren't $1,000 anymore.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, probably not.
Oh, well, Fry's in office anyways.
Yeah.
He has just been so disappointing.
He is, very much the white liberal, where it's, let's do this and progressive and all this great stuff. But
he's nice without
not
being kind.
Actually doing the work needed.
Right.
Just having the platitudes, but not actually having the action. It makes me think of, how Seattle or was it Portland? One of those two, have huge, relatively large Nazi populations.
Probably Portland.
Yeah, it's probably Portland.
Since Oregon was started as a whites-only state.
Yeah. It is Portland, because when I was in Portland last, I had to evade some Nazis. So that was fun.
Horrifying.
Yeah. By fun, I mean horrifying.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to correct you. I was encapsulating my response in a single word. I didn't mean to sound like I was trying to correct your own language describing your own experience.
No, I didn't take it that way. It's good.
Okay.
It's sad because it's funny.
It's true?
It's funny because it's true. Yeah. Oh, Lordy.
If we want to talk about Nazis, so a couple years ago, there was a event for the Jewish holiday of Tisha B'Av, which I say is a holiday, but it's really sad grief day. And we were up in Elk River at the courthouse there, because next to the courthouse is the jail where ICE keeps people. And we were there as kind of a protest. And content warning for a racial slur coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Someone decided to drive by and yell out the window, "Looks like a kike party to me." And the friend and I, who were standing at the back of the group nearest the road, were like, "Well, at least he didn't have a gun."
Yeah.
Yay.
That sounds about right. I mean, what's his face? We had a Nazi commander hiding out here in northeast Minneapolis.
Really?
Yeah, until he died last year.
I was going to say, like, literal OG Nazi.
Literal OG Nazi, yes.
Wow.
Hold on, let me pull it up here. Oh,
At
can I
least
even
with the
pronounce
OG
his
Nazis,
name?
You know it's right to punch them.
Yeah. He died
In America, punch Nazis.
December 14th, 2019.
Oh, wow, that recently.
Ukrainian Self-Defense Legion, and later in the Waffen-SS. Michael
Holy shit.
Karkok. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, because I don't speak Ukrainian.
And
I
also
apologize to
Nazi.
Ukrainians for mispronouncing it. I don't apologize
But
to
not to
him
him.
for mispronouncing it, because
Fuck
he's a
you,
fucking
Karkok.
Nazi. So he can, fuck off. But yeah, he was one of the survivors of the 30th Grenadier Division of the Waffen-SS. And he was present in Krakow, Poland, to collect his salary as a member of the USDL, apparently, according to what I'm reading here. So, yeah, I remember that hitting the papers after he died and going, on the one hand, I'm not surprised a Nazi was hiding out here, considering all the other neo-Nazi groups that just kind of bubble under the surface. On the other hand, come on.
Right?
Was he hiding out, or was he just living there? Like, was he actively trying to remain, secretive about his past, or is he just like a dude living here and no one cared?
It looked like he was being secretive about it. He was a carpenter here in Minnesota, and his family won't talk to the press.
I wouldn't.
But
I understand that very much. I totally understand that.
his son says that his father was never a Nazi and denies war crimes and denies all the evidence that the Associated Press has pulled up. And
people continually deny evidence that COVID exists. So...
Yeah. And the Justice Department declined to comment at the time and said to talk to the Polish government. It looks like there are records, and so, hey, it even says here we go. Thomas Will, the deputy head of Germany's Special Prosecutor's Office that investigates Nazi crimes, this is directly from the Associated Press article, concluded in 2013 that there was sufficient evidence that Karkok was present. In 2017, Polish prosecutor Robert Janacki of the National Remembrance Institute, which investigates Nazi and communist-era crimes against Poles, said years of investigation confirmed 100% that he was a commander of the unit. I'll go ahead and put that in the show notes for anybody who wants to see that. So, yeah, that's Minnesota for you. I mean, it's not an indictment of Minnesota itself. It's just, I am not overly surprised with how many supremacist groups are also here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Illinois can't claim to be any better.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a reason why Illinois Nazis are prominently featured in the Blues Brothers.
Yep.
And it's easy to get away with having this sort of undercurrent when your entire culture is based around not talking to each other.
Yep.
Oh, damn. I didn't even make that connection. That's a really good point.
Yeah, no, talk to your neighbors, folks. Make sure they're not Nazis.
When I was growing up, I knew my neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Same.
In fact, this is the first place I've lived where I don't know my neighbors.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
They're
why
also,
don't you know
like,
your neighbors?
hella far away. Well, they're not that far away. It's not like we live in the country. But they are far enough away where I could build another house between our houses.
Oh, gosh.
So I just never see them.
There are only 4 houses on my block. We're like on a short block. And fully half of the houses on the block have someone named Kevin living in them, we discovered. Yeah. Our next door neighbor is named Kevin, and then the guy next door to Kevin is also named Kevin.
Nice.
Do they get each
Yeah.
other's mail a lot?
I don't know.
Oh, Lordy.
My neighbors are a lovely old lesbian couple. One of them's a chaplain, and one of them is retired, and she's published a book, and it's very nice.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes. And they're always happy to chat when we're outside, and they give me yard advice, and I appreciate them.
Yeah. I'm not including times where I lived in apartments because of the transitory nature of the apartments. Because sometimes I know somebody, and then they'd be gone, and then I wouldn't meet the next person. But there would be at least one person in the building whom I would know. Just not necessarily the apartment adjacent. Because I was also working either odd hours, overnight security and whatnot, or I was a student and just keeping odd hours because going to school and then staying up to do homework and then sometimes working during the day.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but when I lived in houses, I always knew who my neighbors were.
And growing up, we lived in 2 houses when I was growing up. So we moved when I was almost 13. And the neighbors that I had grown up with, I don't know, is it the east? No, it would have been the house west to us. When I was really little, there was another Jewish family there, and they were Asian Jews, which was also really interesting. And we got to be friends, and I found him on Facebook like years and years later. And he went to college with a friend of mine from high school, which was really funny in how I found him. And then when they moved to Virginia, a set of Persian Jews moved in who I got to meet their first kid when he was like a day out of the hospital and I was 6 years old, and I babysat them for years and years. And it was really nice. It was good to have another house on the block to just be able to go home to, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Oh, it makes complete sense. Yeah. When we were little, our next door neighbors were this elderly couple, and they had, we were on a corner lot. And so like, they were kind of like at a 90-degree angle to us, I suppose you could say, with their house. So our backyards formed this gigantic connected play space. And I remember they had, it was awesome. They had a big, gorgeous backyard, and they let us play in it all the time. And they had a raspberry bramble in there, and we would go and we'd pick raspberries and stuff like that. But they're very sweet. They would make rhubarb crumble and bring it out and give it to us kids and stuff like that. They were very sweet, very nice old people. And I remember when my little sister was born, and my dad had to rush my mom to the hospital. They took care of me and my younger brother.
That is adorable.
They were good. They were good people. Yeah, they were good people.
All right, so I have a question for you two, because this is something I think about often.
What is your question?
So, when I was growing up, again, I grew up, inside a city proper, not in the metropolitan area. And at night, we left our porch light on. Where I live now, we keep the porch light off, and it bothers me to no end. What is normal for you? Do you keep it on, or do you keep it off at night?
What we grew up and what I've inherited as the behavior from my parents is that you keep it on when you are still up and about and awake, and you turn it off as part of the going to bed process. Like, when you're turning off the rest of the lights in the house because you're going to bed, you turn the porch light off too.
And that's how my parents do it. And I grew up in suburban San Diego. So that's probably common behavior. I just don't have a porch light now. I have a porch, and you can like light up the whole porch, but there's no like little porch light indicator type thing. So since our house will be in the main room if we're awake, and that light will be on, so I'm like, that's our porch light.
Yeah, and I will say my partner, who he did grow up in the city, he leaves it on, and it drives me nuts. He just leaves it on even during, like, he just never turns it off, and I go and I turn it off. It's not a big enough deal that we have actual conflict about it. It's just, one of those things.
Oh yeah, no, I always turn it off. The moment the sun came up, it goes off. I mean, as long as I'm awake when the sun comes up, but if there's daylight, the light is off. Yeah, I always figured it was a combination of safety, convenience, and helping people who are lost. Because also where I grew up, the house numbers were directly related to the street numbers. So if you were on 40th Street, 40, your house number starts with 40. You know, if you're on 48th, your house number starts with 48.
That's
and
convenient.
Then say,
Rather,
say that there's an emergency, it'll be easier for people to narrow on where the appropriate house is.
But I think what you've described is just like city numbers in general.
St. Paul's not like that. At all.
Okay.
I mean,
Minneapolis is just great then.
Yeah, probably. Chicago sometimes does that and sometimes doesn't. Depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Guess I'm spoiled for having lived here then.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the
using numbered streets is mostly a South Side thing. On the North Side, it's names instead of numbers generally.
Northeast Minneapolis is a mix of presidents and numbers, depending on which angle you're at.
Oh, the presidents are all downtown.
Nice. When I was a delivery driver, I hated delivering to suburbia because even when they were expecting a delivery, no one kept their porch lights on in the middle of the night. So I'm like, where am I? There's no street lights. There's no porch lights. I don't know which house I need. Now I get to...
Oh, and they wouldn't... And the mailboxes wouldn't have the street number on them or anything?
I mean, if they did, I couldn't see them because it was dark.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. So I'd be frustrated and having to call up, be like, hey, can you turn on your porch light? Because I can't see your house. Don't even know if I'm on the right street.
That was actually something in the winter that the USPS was putting out, that if you are expecting a delivery, just keep your porch light on so that the letter carrier can actually see what they're doing, because it gets dark at 4 in the afternoon in the winter.
Yeah, it does.
And they were having to go slowly because of the garbage that the previous administration put forward.
Also, shovel your goddamn front steps.
Shovel your goddamn front steps.
Shovel your whole walk. You don't know who of your neighbors is disabled.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a snow blower, and I definitely start doing that Midwest flex of, I'll just snow blow the whole damn block. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, that's essentially what I did at the last house I lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that here, but that's because we don't have a sidewalk.
Well, yes.
Well, correction, we do have a sidewalk on one side of the house, but because that is a major sidewalk, the city plows it for us.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
God, I wish Chicago would do that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
One of the downsides, though, of living in suburbia is that I work in a different suburb, and I can't bus from here to there.
Oh, sure.
I have to connect in downtown Minneapolis first. So what's a 20-minute drive is a 2.5-hour bus ride.
Yeah. There's plenty to be disappointed about and be critical of with the new administration, but I do like that they're trying to push public transit, like interstate public transit and other forms of public transit more. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I hope they follow through and that the Republicans don't try to block it too hard.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I know they're going to try, just they don't try too hard.
Yeah, I know Biden is personally a big fan of trains as a form of transit, so I think this is one of his pet issues.
Mm.
High-speed trains.
Yeah.
High-speed trains. High-speed trains.
We are long overdue for those.
Yes.
I have been on a train for transportation exactly once, and I loved it.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite way to get between Chicago and Minnesota is Amtrak. It's so pleasant. I love it.
Yeah. By once, I mean once round trip. So there and back again. A Hobbit's Journey by Bilbo Baggins.
Yep. That was also running through my head.
But,
Giant Eagle is also a great way to travel, I gotta say.
What's also a great way?
I missed that, sorry.
Oh man, my joke didn't land. I said Giant Eagle. That's okay. Giant Eagle is also...
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Great way to travel.
Yeah, maybe. No. I'm afraid of heights unless I'm, inside something. So I'm not afraid of heights in airplanes, elevators, offices. I am afraid of heights in roller coasters, mountains, or cliff faces anyway. You know those older buildings that have a big empty center?
Oh, like a mezzanine?
Yeah, mezzanine, that's it. Mezzanines, I am terrified of mezzanines.
Ever been up on a
Not a
genie?
fan of Mall of America that I'm taking it.
No, not really. I always walk on the wall side. Granted, I'm also not a fan of Mall of America for other reasons, too. I'm sorry, what's your question?
Plenty of reasons for that. I said, have you ever been up on a genie?
Oh, no.
Wait, what now?
But I have been in close by to a genie to change lights because there was a walkway right next to where it was.
So
For some reason, I'm not afraid of that
a-
either, even though I should be, based off of how I'm afraid of everything else.
Really quiet? Am I just really quiet? Is that what's going on?
No, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay. Cool.
What is a genie? I'm unfamiliar with this term. I assume it's not.
Genie is a hydraulic lift. I encountered them the most in technical theater because they're what you use to get way up into the rigging.
Oh, those things that have like the accordion bit and it goes.
Yeah, that thing.
Gotcha.
And in my advanced tech class, the teacher made everyone go up in the genie to do a thing. And I was like, I don't go up on ladders while I'm holding $1,500 lights. Why are you putting me in a genie?
Yeah, technically, I wasn't supposed to be up in the rafters, but I was, because we needed something done. I knew how to do it. And, if nothing goes wrong, then it's not a problem. It's only a problem when something does go wrong. The old, it's not illegal if you don't get caught.
Sounds like theater to me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Either of you read Q to Q comics?
No, I'm not familiar.
No.
God, they're hilarious. It's stories of theater from the technical side of theater.
Oh, Q is in CUE.
Yes.
I was like, thought the letter Q.
No, I still haven't read it.
Okay, it's absolutely hilarious, and one of my favorite ones in it has nothing to do with genies or rigging at all, but it's in the scene shop. The prop master comes in and is about to try and fix something, and they need a hammer, and they look around and they see a wrench, and they pick up the wrench and go to hammer the thing in when they hear a loud and then the scene shop master points to the sign that says, "This is not a hammer," and has a picture of the wrench. So the prop master just kind of like puts it back down, sees a screwdriver nearby, picks that up. There's another poster that says, "This is not a hammer."
Yeah, it's funny because it's true.
kind of the opposite of the adage when all you have is a hammer.
Yep.
Oh, Lordy. Some days I miss theater.
Yeah, me too. I thought about seeing if I could get into the community theater scene in Chicago, and then I was like, wait, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I always did best on the administrative side because I have a hard time remembering lines these days. Wasn't an issue in high school. I wasn't in theater in high school. It's just things in my English class had to memorize lines. And I just don't have time or gumption because I have other things that I'm doing.
I actually went to school to be a stage manager.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and there are a lot of reasons I stopped doing theater, but I'm hoping actually to do some board op work, probably for Theater in the Round in the coming year, because one of the reasons that I stopped was between all of the other things that I continually overburden myself with, I wasn't able to make Sunday shows in Tex because I had other obligations on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
But next year I am going to be dropping one of those obligations, so maybe I can take that back up for a year.
So you're going to promptly plug up that one bit of free time in your schedule.
You act like it wasn't going to attract something anyway.
Empty space, can't have that.
Yep.
No.
The last show I saw in Theater in the Round was, what is that called? The one with the giant bunny. Harvey? Is that Harvey?
Oh, yeah, Harvey.
So I saw Harvey there, and that's not really a show for a round theater, but for the most part, they made it work. It was great up until the final scene.
Oh, no.
And it's like everybody except anybody sitting in these specific directions can see what happens in this final scene, just because it's a shadow, and shadows are two-dimensional.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it was great still. Love the space, love the cast, love the location.
I
loved everything
think
about
I saw
it.
a couple shows at Theater in the Round, if I recall correctly. I saw a production of Hamlet that was set during World War I, if I recall
Nice.
correctly. Yeah, it was really well done. And then I also saw a production of Oedipus Rex that was actually really, really good.
Oedipus Rex.
Mm-hmm.
That all could have been avoided if Oedipus's dad just took care of his son.
God, that whole trope of rulers prophesied to, be overthrown by his offspring, so tries to kill the offspring but fails and thus brings about the prophesied end. That happened in real life once. I just learned about this.
What?
Yes.
Ooh. Do tell.
He was a Middle Eastern ruler. His name was like Cretius or something like that. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can...
Oh, Croesus.
Croesus.
He's a popular... People like to say that something as rich as Croesus, because he was apparently very, very, very rich.
You know, his grandfather was ruler of a kingdom and was told, hey, your grandson's gonna overthrow you one day. He's like, ah, shit. And so he kicked him out and sent him to basically the exact location where he could learn all the skills necessary to overthrow his grandpa later.
I think you're actually thinking of Cyrus the Great.
Cyrus, thank you.
Of Persia.
Thank you, yes.
He gave Croesus an ass kicking.
That's what it was.
Which is why. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think Overly Sarcastic Productions just did a history video about Cyrus the Great.
That is, in fact, whomst I learned it from.
I love OSP. They are great.
They're pretty great.
Yeah, I just discovered them during the pandemic and just started binging all of their videos. It was very, very enjoyable. I think I first learned of them when who was it? Joe Cat, that's who it is. They did a series of Crap Guide to D&D videos, which are all hilarious little, videos that discuss the various classes and, what they're good at and, the most common builds for them. And his final one in the series was Crap Guide to Being a DM. And it was an epic crossover where basically all these other nerd YouTubers came in, and it was the sketch was that he's trying to be a DM, but the party is, of course, going completely off the rails with what they want to do, as they do. And at one point, Red from OSP starts like going, yes, this is the darkest before the dawn moment. And yes, this is, analyzing the tropes that are being used by the DM. And my partner saw it and is like, that's you. And I'm like, fuck, you're right. I do it all the time.
Nice. Have you seen their cat yet? Or their cat, Blue's cat, Blue and Cyan's cat.
Looks actually a lot like Leonidas.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Near as I can tell, doesn't act like Leonidas, though. Leonidas is very destructive.
Yes.
Was that?
Put a picture of Leonidas in the show notes.
Oh, yes, I will do that. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, he is adorable. He is destructive. Lordy.
I let my cat go out into the backyard so she wouldn't bother me while we were recording. Nice. It has mostly worked. Sometimes she comes back in and starts bothering me again.
Yeah.
Not enough squirrels out there for her to murder?
No. Well, there's one that lives under my deck who we think might be pregnant, but they seem to have reached a grudging truce. They've encountered each other a few times, and they haven't really. Jack doesn't really go for her. I named the squirrel Francis.
Yeah, I've been following along.
Yeah, I should, for further context, earlier in the week, my metamorph, she saw that this squirrel seemed to be like injured or something. Like it looked like it was bleeding from like a shoulder wound or something like that along its flank, and it was moving really slowly. And it like slowly, painfully crawled up into its little dray that's under my deck, which is on the I was like, oh no, I don't want it to die. So I started leaving out like almonds and stuff for it, and it's doing better. Like I saw it came out last night and it was hopping around. It looked much more spry. So I think it's gonna pull through.
All right.
Yeah.
Squirrels are cute.
And it might be pregnant.
They're cute, and then they dig a hole in your garage and live in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm pretty sure this squirrel has been living in this house longer than we've been living in this house, because we just moved in last fall.
Well, then you definitely can't kick it out.
Exactly.
Squatters' rights or something.
Also, I just feel bad. I'm a big softie.
Yeah. I feel you. My grandmother, when she was alive, had squirrels in her attic, so I'd have to set the traps, and there were these big live traps, and my uncle, the living uncle on that side, would take the traps out somewhere, and they'd tell me that they were letting the squirrels loose out in the woods. And I hope they were telling me the truth, but I have no way to verify that.
Well, the thing about the live traps, my grandfather also does live traps. He does them in his backyard because the squirrels go for the bird feeder. This is in rural mountain Colorado. And he has tried driving those squirrels as far away as the next county, and they come right back. back to his backyard.
Is he sure it's the same squirrels, or is it just other squirrels are like, ooh, free food, and just fill that particular niche?
He's pretty sure that at least a few of them have been the same squirrel.
Wow.
Wow. Sounds like a time for science. Put a tracker on one of them and see what route they take.
I mean, he probably would if I asked. He used to teach chemistry, so science is his thing.
I mean, all you'd have to do is, like, paint a little dot on its back or something, and so you could identify it.
She blinded me with science stuck in my head now.
I'm sorry.
It's the version William Shatner did a couple years ago.
I'm even more sorry.
Yeah.
I was at a Star Trek panel in San Diego one year, and someone defended Star Wars Episode 1, so the panelists punished us with a William Shatner music video.
Nice. Which one?
Oh gosh, what's this song? It's like, when I was son of the, I love this type of girl, and this type of girl.
When I was 17.
Yes.
It was a very good year. Except for Shatner doing it. I was
17. It was a very good year. Or whatever kind of.
That is a Frank Sinatra song. It was called "It Was a Very Good Year."
Oh,
so yeah.
So the Simpsons
want to torture someone.
Oh, so the song that Homer sang about when he got his fake ID and bought his first beer was a parody of that song?
Yes, it was.
Oh my god, I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a funny little song.
The Simpsons are deep.
Clearly.
I saw a clip yesterday from the episode where the Simpsons went out to the Flanders' beach house in Lake Super Long Name. I don't remember the name of it. It's the one where Lisa is popular and Bart tries to ruin it. So while she's packing to go and she's packing her books, Marge asks Lisa if she wants to bring some friends. And Lisa says that her only friends are books. And Lisa says, even Gore Vidal has kissed more boys than I have. And, growing up, I was like, okay. And I never thought anything about it because, whatever, kiss who you want. And then, yesterday when I saw that clip, I was like, wait a minute. The Simpsons makes, like, solid references, so this must mean something. So I looked up who Gore Vidal was, and I was like, oh, he was openly bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
And he was born in 1925. And I did not know that he did things like Gattaca and Caligula and, stuff like that.
Yeah, he did quite a few.
Yeah. So yeah, learned something new because The Simpsons made a joke that made me go, that probably means something more. I better look it up.
I'm trying to think if I've read, like, I know who he was, and, like, I was aware that he was, like, one of the more, like, famous LGBT, writers, but I don't know if I've actually read any of his stuff. I'm trying to think.
I bet his Wikipedia has his bibliography in it.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at it right now. It looks like he's done a lot of political biographies of, like, famous politicians and stuff.
Oh.
Which would explain why I haven't read any of his stuff.
Yes.
Not big on biographies.
I've not
there's an
read any of his
entire
either.
article that's just his bibliography.
So, y'all are familiar with being a product of the American school system. Are familiar with,
unfortunately,
Lord of the Flies?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, my dad, who also taught English for the high school level, had pointed out that watching the Simpsons episode Das Bus is a better alternative than actually reading Lord of the Flies. And I have to agree with him.
Is it the similar concept where kids left alone form a society?
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Yeah, the entire episode is that.
Yeah, the whole episode is just a pastiche of Lord of the Flies, and it's hilarious because it's the dumbass kids from The Simpsons.
Yep.
Oh God, is that the one where Martin has that delightful line where he's like, "We must unite together, for just like a twig, one is easily broken, but together we form a mighty faggot."
I don't think it was that episode.
Oh, wasn't that episode?
No.
Feels like it would have been.
It feels like it would be that, but I don't think Martin was that episode.
Okay. Huh.
You know what? We have the internets.
We do, but I like
I am searching Martin Simpson's faggot line. The Ha-Hod couple.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I don't remember what that episode's about. You know, newer Simpsons, everyone has a harder time remembering what they're about.
I've stopped watching them a good 10,
That
15
is
years
the
ago.
episode where Bart is the only one who goes to Nelson's birthday party.
Oh. Oh, and then Nelson... I don't remember that one. I remember that line. I don't remember anything else about that episode.
Yeah.
Excellent line.
It is an excellent line.
Short version is Nelson's mean to everybody. Bart says, we're not going to Nelson's birthday party. Everyone agrees. And so Martin makes that line because that's what gets everyone to unite. Well,
Gotcha.
Bart's speech and Martin making that. But then Marge forces Bart to go. And since Bart was the only one there, Nelson becomes Bart's best friend. Bart becomes Nelson's best friend, even though Bart doesn't want to be friends with Nelson. And then Bart nearly drowns, and Nelson rescues him and tells him he is a bad friend.
Okay.
That's pretty much the synopsis of that episode.
Wait,
Would
oh
this
god.
be-
Oh no, now I'm just like having random flashes of Simpsons episodes, coming into my brain. Now I'm imagining that one where they see these two homeless guys like on a raft in the river, and they're like, "Hey kids, want to see a dead body?" And then they scream and run away.
Oh,
Which I'm
yeah.
pretty sure is a different episode.
That is a different episode, and I don't know which one.
It's really quite horrifying when you think about it, of how much of my brain space is taken up with just random bits of Simpsons episodes, completely divorced from their original context.
I mean, I think that's most of us these days.
There was, in fact, an entire play written about that, so...
Oh, right. I haven't seen it, though. What is it called again? Mr. Burns?
Mr. Burns, a post-electric play.
That's what it is.
I did not see that play.
I would want to, though.
The Guthrie did it a couple years ago.
Was it
That
the
sounds
Guthrie?
I thought it was the Guthrie.
It was probably
I
the
remember
Guthrie.
it was kind of big news when it was being produced.
Yeah. I think it must have been the Guthrie because my partner was working as an usher there at the time and he saw it.
Nice.
So.
I tried to look it up, and it's giving me stuff about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Also, another one of those. Here's the Wikipedia page for Mr. Burns. The idea is that the world has an apocalypse and all that the people can remember is The Simpsons. That's all they want to talk about. And then The Simpsons becomes mythology for this new world.
Yeah, and like from what I understand, the play spans like several generations of people, and so like as they retell these Simpsons episodes over and over and over again, they change over time because oral traditions change over time. So the audience gets to see how that happens.
Yeah, history is full of stuff like that. They played that
Back to
up.
OSP.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I'm like,
What's that show? Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Yes.
The Avatar uses that to his advantage one episode.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and then it turns out he was just making that up.
Yeah, the one where the two
The two
Earth
villages are like
Nation
at war.
villages. Yeah, and they both need a cross.
That has to be the most derided episode in the entire
It is really,
set by
really
most of the
weird.
fan base.
It is. It is.
I like the concept. Like, I get what the writers thought would be like a really cool idea. I just don't think they were able to, they just weren't able to stick the execution is all.
Yeah, but I
Only
mean,
episode of that show that they didn't, so...
That's fair enough.
yeah, every episode of Avatar was good, in my opinion. I've not seen the movie. I've seen clips of the movie.
Yes,
There is no movie in Bossing Say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also have not watched the movie, but I have watched many a YouTube dissection of the movie, and the absolutely bizarre like cinematography and editing choices that it makes, and it makes me want to watch it just to see how bad it is, like from a craft standpoint.
Maybe when pandemic is over enough and everyone's vaccinated, you can come up to the cities and we can have a substance and watch party.
See, that's what I was going to suggest.
I would be delighted, because then I can just be like, why did they do that? Why did they set the camera up like that? Why is it panned in so close on his face for the entire conversation?
Yeah. For The Legend of Korra.
Oh yeah, I'm working through that right now.
How far along are you?
Where am I? Let's see. Oh, I think it's the third book, the one when all the Earthbenders, or not Earthbenders, Airbenders start manifesting, and Zahid is the antagonist.
Okay,
Yes,
good times.
that would be book.
So when I was watching it, it occurred to me that Korra's personality is more of a firebender than an airbender. I mean, waterbender.
Mm-hmm.
And Tenzin, his personality is more of an earthbender than an airbender. So I'm like, yeah.
I think that I see where you're going with that. And I think part of what they're doing with that is showing you that waterbenders are not this and firebenders are not this. Like, yes, Korra is angry and energetic and wants to do all the moving things, and she's a waterbender. So firebending might be really useful for her as the Avatar, but it's not because she's a firebender that she's like this.
Yeah.
It's probably because she knew she was the Avatar from very, very early in her life and has always been treated in a very special manner. Whereas with Tenzin, he had the expectations of Aang and the entire air nomad history laid on him. And he's grown up with that weight, whereas his two siblings didn't really have to carry that as much.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So I think that what's shown is very reflective of them as people rather than as the type of bender that they are. Because then you look at Jinora and Iki and Milo,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all three very different people, and they're all airbenders.
Yeah. It was more of, they're the only ones who really seem significantly different throughout the series so far. And it makes me want to have more. Give me more. It also, explains why Korra had such a hard time with airbending.
Mm-hmm.
Because she couldn't, float.
Well, even her waterbending and her earthbending styles, the way that they did the martial arts for them is very different from the traditional styles of bending that they show in Last Airbender. Especially with the development of pro bending and with the development of the side bending like metal and lightning as more mainstream practices. It seems like the core bending skills have been adapted and have evolved more away from, say, water bending is following the push and pull motions of the moon.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah. So when I was watching Avatar, early in the series, before bloodbending was, bloodbending,
Sure.
I said, since the human body is mostly water, shouldn't you be able to control a person by manipulating all that water?
Yep.
Yes.
And then a little bit later, I was like, because plants are also mostly water, can't you have, plant bending or swamp bending?
Yes.
And so, these things happened. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm following what's going on ahead of time. But then, the lightning bending happened. And I'm like, but lightning and fire? What? Lightning's not cold. Okay, I don't get that, but I'm glad I don't get that because it just is more mystery for me. Lightning is not cold.
No, lightning is balance.
Lightning is balance.
That's what Iroh is trying to teach Zuko.
Yeah.
When he's teaching him about lightning bending.
The sandbenders I always thought were really interesting because it seems like other earthbenders can't bend sand.
Not without practice.
Yeah.
After Toph lost Appa to the sandbenders, she practiced with sand, and then she was able to do the model of Ba Sing Se on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, there would be no reason why they can't. I just imagine it'd be harder because it's a bunch of, little discrete particles instead of a more solid piece.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the Pratchett, it's like transforming into a hive of bees rather than a single creature.
Bzzz. My problem is always that my brain goes, but scientifically, even though science has no place in this.
Yep.
But on the other hand, I think that the way that the writers approach, bending, they do try to approach it in a scientific way. Yeah. I would argue, they definitely, you can tell that they thought through the logical implications. Where if we introduce this thing, then that leads to this, and this. That's why I think the show is so well received, is because they made that extra effort to think through the implications of these fantasy elements that they were introducing.
Oh, yeah. But what I was getting at is that there's this YouTuber whom I follow, Hello Future Me, who talks about bending.
Yeah.
And my partner turned me on to Hello Future Me. And it really made it make more sense spiritually, because that is not a thing I'm good with at all. It's like, okay, this makes more sense now. These are things I would never have thought of. Now I can't even remember them, but I just know that it makes sense.
What do you mean from the spiritual side of it?
Like how I was saying that, because water is in everything, you should be able to manipulate everything, but you can't. And how instead, it's not that, it's that water is the manipulation. Or it's not that you're manipulating everything with water. It's that water is the... I will make certain to post this in the show notes because I am explaining this very poorly. But it's like the cultural thing. You know what? I'm just going to post this in the show notes because I can't explain it. Okay. I'm not good at that.
That's cool. I can look it up.
If I may hazard a guess, is it that the bending is used metaphorically more so than literally? Like the bending is not it's a storytelling device, it's a literary device, which means that it needs to serve the purpose of a metaphor as much as a scientific phenomenon.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, that makes sense. I will watch the video though, because my partner also watches Hello Future Me.
Nice. Now I can't remember if is bending genetic or what everyone gets wrong about Avatar is flesh bending possible. I don't remember which one of those it is, so I'm just going to link both. And, because they're both great. They are both great. I want to know more about Avatar Kyoshi.
Yes, there are books.
Yeah, I should read those books because I am super interested in her, just like everybody else.
Should also. Yeah, Kyoshi, I'm pretty sure A, she's canonically lesbian, and B, she's just from a different era. Like, she's 400 years in Aang's past, right? So, someone 400 years ago, so someone living in the 1700s will have a very different sense of morality, or 1600s would have a very different sense of morality than someone living in this era. And getting inside her head is going to be pretty foreign from that perspective.
Now, when you say Aang's past, do you mean Aang's past after he's thawed or before he's thawed?
After.
Okay.
Because for Kyoshi Day, they say that she was 400 years ago.
Yes. I pulled up her wiki. She died at the age of 230, making her the oldest confirmed human. Wow. Yeah, so she was born 312 before the Great War, died 82 before the Great War. That is a long time to live. I don't know if I'd want to live that long.
That's interesting that they did that rather than trying to put more avatars in between.
I'm guessing that they fucked up when they were writing and didn't realize it until it was too late. They're like, shit, we didn't think the timeline out.
It is possible because tall people tend to have shorter lifespans. And I mean, very tall people. I did a quick search and there are papers about how shorter people appear to have longer lifespans.
Interesting.
But though what I was going for was like how very tall people, they'll have things happen to them like lungs collapsing just from standing up.
Oh, sure.
That happened to somebody I know. Just stood up and his lung collapsed.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's concerning.
It's because the connective tissues, to my understanding, the connective tissues are weaker because you're too tall, so they're stretched thinner.
Horrifying.
Yeah. There's just a point where the human body is like, no, you're not supposed to do that. We can't do this anymore. This is all you get. This is all the material we have for this particular body part. Don't break it. And then it gets broken. So yeah, I'm glad I'm not 6'8". Yeah, 5'8" is a good height to be.
Broken body parts, medical neglect. A friend of mine recently discovered that she had a pretty serious condition that needed surgery after being told by 3 doctors that it was just cramps.
Oh, lordy, lordy, lord. Was it to do with, was it cancer?
It was not.
Okay.
And she's through the surgery.
Was it cystic fibrosis?
I haven't asked her if I can share this, so I don't want to...
That is a good point.
...talk about her own medical things in detail on a podcast. But yeah, that's not cool, and that happens to female-presenting people way more than it should.
Yep. That reminds me of, People don't, as a general populace, people don't pay enough attention to that, until it happens to someone famous, like one of the Williams sisters. I forgot which one, when she had a baby, and
oh, sure.
her doctors didn't believe her when she told them about this medical issue that she has. She's like, no, here's what we need to do. If you look at my charts and all this stuff. Medical sexism is...
In her condition, medical sexism and medical racism.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Both are there.
Because supposedly, black people don't feel as much pain.
I mean, that's patently untrue.
Yep.
From actual things. And eugenics studies didn't do science any favors.
At MiniCon 2018, I was on a panel about genetic testing. 23andUs something genetic testing. It was about, those vanity sites where you can get your DNA tested and see where you're from and all that. And somebody asked a question at one point, and when it was my turn to give a response, I said, well, we were very lucky to be able to defeat Khan Noonien Singh back in 96. And we had to use our only DY-100 ship to get him into space and away from Earth. And people just did not get it. And I was sad.
Oh, no!
Yeah, but I still stand by what I said, because it was the greatest reference I ever made on a panel.
I will believe that, because it's an excellent one.
Yeah.
For the listeners who don't know what he's referring to, Star Trek, Khan, not the new one. There's the search terms.
Ricardo Montalban.
Such a good actor.
He was.
I mean, they should have used someone who was actually Indian for the part, but
yeah,
it was the 60s.
At least they didn't take a white guy and just put a brown makeup on him and stuff.
I mean, they kind of did.
They kind of did, but
yep,
could have been worse.
At least they didn't do it again when he was in Star Trek 2.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They did tone it down for that, didn't they?
Yep.
We actually, when I took my makeup class in college, because again, went to school for theater, we had a demonstration of how to change someone's skin tone. And as she was doing it, the instructor was like, I'm only teaching you this because it is a skill. It's not really something that we do anymore for hopefully obvious reasons. So we got the demonstration, but we weren't practicing it, and we were told, don't do this.
So then why did they demonstrate it?
Honestly, do not know. I don't know if it was
May I
part
hazard
of a
a guess?
curricular thing. Sure.
I am guessing that it's still a skill to learn to make someone look sickly, paler from being sickly, or sunned, or a different color entirely if they're an alien.
That is very generous of you, and I can definitely see the instructor thinking of those. So, thank you.
Yes, I'm just trying to be generous with that.
Yeah.
How many panels have I been on about blackface already? Two. One
sorry.
at MarsCon and one at Convergence. And, don't do it. And one person in the audience at the one at MarsCon that I did try to defend it. And I was like,
Bad audience.
take a breath. Don't jump over the table. No, that's offensive.
Were they promptly booed by the rest of the audience?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that was a day. Yeah. I'll make sure to put links to the show notes as well. Any final words then?
Final word. Say
Don't
hello
do
to your
blackface.
neighbors. And say hello to your neighbors.
So don't do blackface, kids, and say hello to neighbors. And all right, then have a good night, everybody.